Hey guys, my name is Nikhil Beer Singh Chima and I'm from Green Consulting. Welcome to the second episode of Here and Now. Our guest for today is Sparsh Sinha, who is a managing partner at Open Strategy and Design, which is a brand consulting firm. Sparsh, I know you've had a very long day, tons of calls, and we're doing this so late in the evening, but thanks so much for taking time out for us. I really wanted you to be part of the show because you have that bird's eye view of all sectors, the entire economy, Indian economy, global economy. So your perspective today is fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm not sure of having a bird's eye view, but for sure, working with different industries, you do get a peak. So bird's eye might be an over,
Right.
but I do have a small peak into many things. Yes, that's true.
Okay, Sparsh, so let's ease ourselves into this. How are you guys faring in the lockdown and what's your work from home experience been like? Super.
What happened a couple of months back is when we started kind of consciously started doing a lot of work internally on sharpening the way we work, the way we are structured, looking at each of our kind of offerings and how could we sharpen it and what could we do. So a lot of that work started, and the timing was kind of interesting because obviously we didn't see this coming. But in hindsight, it was good timing because in times like these, you need extra focus. It, like they say, when you're drowning, the one thing that kills you is the presence of mind, right? Because you panic, and probably for a lot of people, will come out of this stronger than they walked in. Which is the other side. Early on when it started, there was this quote of Churchill which started going around, which is never let a good crisis go waste, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, only Churchill could come up with such gems. But it's very interesting because there's actually, if you look back at what happened during times of crisis, like the world wars and the Great Recession and all, and what was the kind of impact that it had on business. Obviously, it's a hugely difficult time for everyone across. But it's interesting to see that at in each of these cases, it also gave birth to some new organizations, or there were some companies which actually got built during these times. And if you look a little closely, you realize that a lot of them went in with a lot more focus. Focus as being the key, because when everything is all right, when there's status quo, there's no need to reflect. There's no need to look at how you're leading your, even in our everyday life, right?
How do you mean focus, Sparsh? You've used this word a fair bit. What do you mean?
Often people are asked, how has this lockdown and how is this phase impacting your work, your productivity, your efficiency, right? We are finding that we are working much better than we ever did.
What are you saying?
Yeah, in fact,
By being apart from each other.
Yeah, because when the numbers started going up in India, we actually decided to work from home before the official lockdown happened, about 15 days before. So the nature of our work is such that you can work from anywhere. We are not in a business which requires you to make things physically together, right? It was fascinating that in the first week itself, I was quite surprised. And like I was telling you, because we started kind of working towards a more structured and focused way of working, looking at every aspect of how we work. We had started kind of pushing some of these tools, not knowing that we will have to kind of completely rely on them. So we had.
You mean digital tools?
Digital tools, so Zoom we anyway use quite often because we've got many clients who are not in Bombay, or not, so we've got clients, international clients. So yeah. Okay. So Zoom and anyway is something that, but even for internal, so actually with clients it's that much easier. So that we were used to, but internal working, something that we wanted to try out and practice. So we started onboarding some of that, and then this happened. So we were kind of, in a strange way, we got the timing right, and then because we were trying it and we had already signed up and we were making people, kind of use some of these. We didn't spend time figuring out how to work from home. We already had
Sure.
the infrastructure in place.
Hit the ground running.
Right. And I'll tell you, I think it's amazing because what I realized was within the first 10 days, I think we we started working in a way which was a lot more collaborative. Because in a strange way, I think it's like the biggest learning. We assume that a physical space brings you together, right? Like we're fairly small group, but 30 people, right? Uh, and our office is not a place where you have to walk a lot to reach the other corner, right? So there is no reason for people to not interact. But even in a physical space like that, you know, find ways of not interacting as often as we should, when we're working.
Why does this happen, Sparsh? Tell me about this, huh? Because I've heard this so often now.
Because it happens because I think in some ways when we get into on our desks in our offices, and we've got an open plan office, right? There are no walls and rooms, But even in a place like that, we build virtual walls. We believe that when we are working, we need to be by ourselves, and also what has happened. So one is the other bit happened is interaction between people. As there's a defined protocol, right? You get into meetings, so if you have to discuss something, has to be a meeting. Now if there has to be a meeting, then all the people who are responsible, all the guys who are involved should be in that room. Now 4 of them not available in the next 48 hours, so you're not meeting for so all kinds of things happen which are purely because of the protocols we have designed for interaction. I think what happened when once we moved to remote work is we realized that everyone was just a ping away, and in fact that was the only way you could communicate, right? So while I mean there are still meetings which now happen on Zoom, but I think especially tools like Slack, etc. I think suddenly they kind of tear down so many walls. I mean, no one has defined it, but often that's the way it works, But what is stopping me from kind of, if I'm part of the strategy team, to have a check with someone who's in the creative team on, I had in mind, what do you think of that? Nothing is stopping me, right? It's just that those protocols have defined how we interact with each other. Common wisdom says that physically we are supposed to interact better and communicate better and work better. And I mean, then many things which you can't replace with virtual things, like physically being there also means there's so many non-verbal signals that you pick up, right? So there is obvious value to physical interaction with people. I'm not anything away from that, but there's also a great intimacy, a strange kind of intimacy that virtual communication channels and these tools are bringing in, and they are in many ways tearing down some of these walls that we've had for a very long time.
Wow, beautiful. I must admit, Sparsh, this is the first time I'm hearing this in the last 2 months. Digital tools breaking down human walls.
While I'm saying that we are working in a far more efficient manner, etc., at no point of time do I believe that this is the way to work. I'm not saying that.
Oh, wow.
Like every crisis forces you to change because there's no need to change, right? Without the need to change. So all this while there was also need to change, right? Now, like we are asking questions like, do we need an office? And I'm sure a lot of people are asking that question. Do we need an office? And if we need an office, what do we need it for? Because maybe the way we have looked at office all this while is not the right way. This has given us a chance to reimagine what an office really is. Maybe an office is more like a cafe for office people, where they get to come in and interact with each other and have a good time and then go away and do work. It's not a place to go and work, which has been the way we have defined office till now. And I don't need everyone to turn up every day and work there. Like I was reading this interesting article which talked about this concept of presentism as an important concept of work life, where there's so much of emphasis made on you being there, and that's why we have these we have these registers or or work log which clocks in how much time you spent. This is the legacy of our industrial era factory worker mindset. That the time that you spend.
That's also how we build clients, right?
Right, everything.
Clockable hours, all that.
Everything, everything based on time spent, right? So you being present, the basis of you being present is equal to you working, right? Now this fundamentally changes that whole idea. He's saying you being present has got nothing to do with it. Like today, if I'm working from home, who's here to check whether I'm working for 1 hour or I'm working for 8 hours? No one, right? The only thing now we are looking out for is, are you doing your bit? And as long as you're doing your bit, we don't care, right? We don't care how you're spending.
But Sparsh, don't you need to have a lot of trust in your people for that?
You just need them to do what they're supposed to do. The rest they will take care, right? Why do you need to define how they spend time working? Why do you need to define where they need to spend time working? Why did we assume the two are the same? None of that holds true today, right? When we are at home, who's watching us? Who's policing us?
So how do you measure performance then? Individual performance?
In our field, it is because we are in a knowledge industry, right? We are a consultant. Right. The thinking and the creative output that we have is what we charge for, right? So there is absolutely no relation to did I spend 80 hours coming up with that. In fact, there is a negative, kind of correlation between. And so I'm not speaking for everyone. There are many industries which work very differently. There are many industries where absolutely being there and doing things is the nature of the work, right? You don't need people to be around. You don't need them to be working in a certain way for them to do what they're doing, as long as you define what you want.
Makes sense. Okay. Sparsh, one of the reasons I wanted to have a chat with you is because you guys have a view of pretty much everyone, all sectors, the entire economy, people at large, business at large. Right? What's your sense of scene today and going forward tomorrow?
I think first of all, there are very few industries which are selling at this point of time, right? Only essentials, healthcare. There are very few of them, right? Which have even cash coming in, right? For most others, it's business at a standstill. So there is obviously going to be a big struggle even when the business opens up, because from whatever we read, we are going to get into a deep recession. We are going to take a long time to come out of it, right? That is the sense that that we are getting. And obviously, no one knows this because no one has seen this ever. There are no parallels, so all of this is speculative level. But I've read a couple of interesting perspectives which make sense, because like one perspective was on what happens when a business starts struggling with cash flow. How it starts creating a downward spiral, because every layoff. So one business struggling and laying off 100 people, for instance, those 100 people now have less money, so they are not going to spend as much, which is going to put another company out of business, which will lay off its people, who will again be able to buy less. So it becomes a downward spiral, right? So that downward spiral is a scary spiral to get out of. So it is going to be, it is going to be a fairly long-term, kind of recession that we are looking at. I think, a lot of rationalization is going to happen in terms of people, in terms of activities, in terms of production efficiency. A lot of that is going to come into focus for every organization. It will be down to just kind of survival for many of the businesses. But equally, there will be a industry which will grow, like healthcare is supposed to, kind of get a boost. March always is the only big month for insurance, because for tax saving people, kind of buy insurance, right? They said for the first time in history, April was bigger than March. So there will be some sectors like that which will also benefit out of the situation. Probably those will see a lot more action. Online, I think anything that is online is probably now going to be a lot more efficient and work better.
I was going to come to that, Sparsh. The whole online digital tech.
Right.
Debate. People are saying that everything's going to go tech. Investors are saying you've got to be a tech firm, a tech startup for you to get funding. Education is online. Training is online.
Right.
Do you believe that everything will be online and that's the way forward?
See, they will, I think there are always two forces that are at play and both counter each other, So on one hand, there will, because of business implications, there will be a huge push towards moving things online. Equally, because as humans, we are social animals, we will also value human and physical interaction a lot more. So those are, countering forces. I think in many ways, my one guess is probably physical will become the new luxury. Anything that is physical will become the new luxury. Because we will value it, we will want it, and only we will be able to afford it.
Sure, makes sense. My final question, Sparsh, what mindset or thinking are we in the business world, in the corporate world, need to have going forward? And is it going to significantly change from pre-March?
Yeah, I think people who are imaginative, are going to thrive. People who are willing to say that what was working earlier is not going to work. And we have to understand what is changing and how it's changing and use it to our advantage. And that is what I mean by imaginative. Those people are going to do very well. If you're in a physical environment where things are changing around you very fast, the guy who can make sense of the change first is always at an advantage, right? So in that sense, I think I would say that for most businesses, they should, especially if they don't have it within themselves, the one place where they should spend money on is to get experts who can help them imagine a different reality for their businesses. Even if it is like in a, so I'm not talking of long-term strategy, because otherwise it's considered as get a McKinsey to come with a future report for 5 years. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking of if you have to survive for the next 6 months, 8 months. Know that what you are doing, if you try doing more of that, you might not survive, right? Because the rules are. It was just one thing that you could spend on. You should spend it on getting expertise that will help you answer some of these questions, which is, what is the impact of this on my business? What is the very definition of what I offer as a business? How is that going to change? How are people going to buy and respond to and interact with my category? At my internally, how should my employees, how should I be looking at them? Now these are very fundamental questions. Some guys will instinctively get it right, but for a whole lot, they will need assistance, and that's the only place they should go out for assistance. It's also not the easiest assistance to get, because when you are saying, imagine how your business will operate, it's a very tricky question. Most of the business, I mean, especially being a strategist, I can tell you that strategy consultancies are the one place which are full of people who give you a lot of gyan but very little solution, right?
Right.
So it's not the easiest thing to get, but if you get that, and if you find people like us who are actually interested in solving
Right.
and the same holds for, I think, even for you as a consultancy, where
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. Yes, that's a great way to end here. Superb stuff. So, Sparsh, thanks very much for your time, man. This was
it was fun
fantastic.
talking. No, I mean,
So beautiful.
I also enjoyed it.
And cheers.